Where's the Zoom? This one?
Yeah. Wait is way, T is tight.
Yep.
You come here tonight, undoubtedly, to listen to our main speaker. And it's my great pleasure, profound honour, to be able to introduce you here this evening to Joe Higgins. Most of you know Joe Higgins. I'm quite sure you have seen him on television if you haven't met him personally. But Joe Higgins, like him or love him, is a man of immense integrity, unbending principle, and someone who has stood his ground, uncompromisingly in favour of his integrity, his principles and his beliefs throughout his life. So ladies and gentlemen, please, I'll give you Joe Higgins.
Chorte tá anásar an bheilsa an muícháin lucht agus gur míle maithagad de gach duine a tháinig amach sa nó. And I would like to thank Tommy McCartney and the local and friends in Monaghan who at very short notice set up this meeting of the campaign against household and water and septic tank taxes, so that we can give the information from the perspective that we're coming from and outline the aims of our campaign and how we believe that this can and must become a campaign of ordinary people, the length and breadth of the state. A new line of taxation that in the case of the household tax they start with €100 demand this year. But of course we know that that is the thin end of what will become a very wide wedge and a huge burden on people if they're allowed to get away with it. The government has already said that next year that will become a property tax. And the Commission on Taxation, which is pushing this line of a new layer of taxation, says that every house of value, that is of value between €150,000 and €300,000, I'm not sure what prices are like here, but in Dublin that would be the vast range of the homes of ordinary working people, pensioners, etc., that every house in that range should pay €560 each year in a so-called property tax. Many people are saying absolutely no way. We will not register, we will not pay. They're absolutely determined. There's another stratum of people don't want, the majority do not want, but they are somewhat fearful. So what we say, and what everybody attending the meetings must go away and say, and keep it expanding all the time, is, why would you rush out to register? Don't register. Even the government says you don't have to register until March the 31st. So let's arrive at St. Patrick's Day, March the 17th, Saturday, 2 weeks before the deadline. And let us see clearly that we have a mass non-registration situation. Let's see clearly that we have 500,000, 500,000 perhaps. Could it be 1 million or more that have refused to register by then? Very possibly, if people stand together. At the present time, out of 1,800,000 in the first month, only 72,000 have registered, 4 or 5%. So if 50% refuse to register, that would be nearly 1 million people
If 500,000, it would still be huge and would create a huge political headache and crisis for this government of Fine Gael and the Labour Party. But that's what has to happen. And we have to get the message out to people. This is your referendum. They might try and deny us a referendum on this new austerity treaty from Europe. We'll fight that. It's a separate issue, but related as well. This can be your referendum by refusing to register, refusing to pay. This can be your retake of the general election of a year ago, because the promises that were made to you then have been shown to be falsified through and through by the government that came into power. But on this issue, you decide the issue. And if that message goes out to the length and breadth of this country, and in doing that we must put it up to the political parties in government, Fine Gael and Labour, what they promised about negotiation and burning bondholders over the next 2 months, which shows in a high visibility of the campaign, and people will see it's not just me that's thinking that this is wrong, my neighbour does as well. We have these to take away as well, and we will have more. We also have a membership card for the campaign, which we ask people if they want to take out the membership for a donation of €5 or more if you wish. This is to raise funds for the type of initiatives that are critical. Each one of these posters, believe it or not, is between €3 and €4, incredibly. You can imagine then what a few thousand costs, what $250,000, and later the next round of literature in response to whatever the government produces will be 1 million pieces of literature to go into the best part of 1 million homes. It's a huge undertaking by ordinary people right around this country. That's what the fund is going for. If you haven't registered on the way in, you may do so on the way out. There'll be people at the back or throughout the hall. So please consider seriously these points. And then critically, Chairman, in conclusion, in the villages and towns of Monaghan or wherever, a few people come together and organise locally, maybe do the leafleting together or have a meeting in the local town, and the campaign will send out assistance, and anyway people themselves will become expert in the arguments as they are see the details more, so that we have an active campaigning organisation in every area. That will put the fear into the political parties of this government. That will make them think, because they think that they've got away with this austerity, these savage cuts on our people's living standards and services for 3.5 years. They are being patted on the head when they go to Brussels and Europe. They're the great boys of Europe. They're implementing all these savage cuts. Are the Irish people nice and mannerly to take all these cuts from us? Not like these bad Greeks who go out and who protest on the streets. Let's end that myth. Our people, going back to 1913, James Connolly, Jim Larkin, the trade union movement, massive movements on many fronts, have shown that when there's an issue of justice and equality, Irish people, ordinary people, working people, poor people will take a stand and will stand together. So I say in conclusion, there's been enough bleeding of working class people, of pensioners, of the poor. Let us stand together, and let us stand also incidentally in solidarity with people just like us in Greece, who are getting crushed at the present time with the extent of the savagery of the cuts. If I had time, I would develop it. It is incredible what is happening to the poor people, the pensioners of Greece at the present time. They are being crushed by this vicious austerity. In Spain, in Portugal, it's the same thing. Massive youth unemployment. Ordinary people, the victims of the financial markets, these gangsters in the big banks who think they can do anything for their private profit, and even determine now who should be in government in particular countries. Our campaign, becoming a mass campaign of ordinary people, is a challenge to all that, and a challenge that this government and the political establishment and the big business establishment cannot afford to ignore.